Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Meet the Candidates. This is the second of 5 Meet the Candidates forums that the Chamber is holding. Tonight, we are going to be meeting with individuals that are running for commission seat in the city of Cooper City. First of all, I'd like to welcome our guest today with us, Jennifer, I might say your name wrong and I apologize, Jennifer Goldfarb and Ryan Schroeder. I want to thank both of you for coming in today. The process for today's event is I'm going to give you both a minute to give you some opening comments. Then we'll go through some questions and then a 3-minute closing at the end. All right? And so we're going to start with Jennifer. We'll start with Jennifer. I'm going to make it a little bit easier for me today. So Jennifer, you can give us your opening comments.
My name is Jennifer Goldfarb. I want to be the next Cooper City Commissioner. I have lived in Cooper City now for about 15 years with my husband and my 2 teenagers. And I've been an avid volunteer in the community. I've volunteered with Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, PTA, Optimist, etc. I have been an accountant now for 25 years. I earned my master's degree from FAU in forensic accounting. And some of my goals for the city would be to improve communication, improve efficiency, improve fiscal responsibility, and I hope to lead the city with integrity and heart and be a real representative for them.
All right, thank you. Mr. Schroeder.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Schroeder. I'm running for Cooper City District 4 as well. I've lived in Cooper City my entire life. I graduated from Florida State University with my bachelor's, and I went to law school at Nova Southeastern University. Currently, I'm a real estate attorney and civil litigation attorney. I have a law firm in Cooper City and a title company. I have about 14 employees. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I have 3 children. My oldest is 6. He's in 1st grade at Embassy Creek Elementary, and then I have 2 younger boys. My wife is, we live in Camino Gardens together, and she's a hospitalist, internal medicine physician at a local hospital. I'm on a few different city boards. I'm on a public safety advisory board, and I was the vice chair of the Cooper City Charter Board. I've been involved in Cooper City's contract negotiations for the better part of 3 years now. We contract the majority of our public safety services with the Broward Sheriff's Office. And as a candidate, I really hope to help revitalize the city, fix some of the mismanagement with the finances, and ensure our public safety contracts are properly managed.
Mr. Giancarlo, we're doing opening statements right now.
Yes, thank you. I'm Josh Giancarlo. I'm also running for Cooper City Commissioner of District 4. I grew up majority of my life in Cooper City. I graduated from Embassy Creek, Pioneer, Cooper City High School, where I excelled at all of them academically, participated in a number of clubs. I went away to the University of Florida for my undergraduate degree and master's degrees in accounting, and then came back, worked for the federal government for a couple years before I went to law school at the University of Florida. Ever since I was 14 years old, I was involved in community service with the city, mostly through coaching at Cooper City Optimist, where I've coached hundreds and hundreds of kids in soccer, flag football, and basketball. I've helped run the basketball program administratively since I was 18, putting together schedules for hundreds of teams. Since law school, I've worked in business consulting. I now have a tax accounting practice and a law firm where I do civil litigation. I've been involved in a number of boards with the city. I was a member of the inaugural Finance Advisory Board. I was a member of the Charter Review Board, and I'm currently on the Planning and Zoning Board. While on the Planning and Zoning Board, we've been positive in trying to involve more businesses in the city to grow the business base and to just give more opportunity to people who want to have their own businesses in Cooper City, whether it's at new shopping centers or shopping centers that are already in existence, for sign variances or parking variances so that they can operate in a successful manner. I think a key goal of mine as a commissioner will be to improve the effort made by the city to help local businesses. COVID has shown a light on problems that are throughout the country. One of those being the support of local businesses. I think that by supporting local businesses, we can improve the tax base and improve a budget situation that is difficult for Cooper City because of BSO contracts that have not been negotiated because of rising costs. Through business growth and financial stability, it's easier to show financial transparency to the residents and provide more value to the residents. And that's what I hope to do with my candidacy.
All right, so now we're going to go into the question section. We're going to start with you, Mrs. Goldfarb. The first question is this, and all of you will be answering the same questions. So here comes the first question. The economic challenges presented by COVID will unquestionably impact next year's city budget, as well as this year's. State sales tax distributions have declined and another shutdown will only exacerbate the situation. What will be your approach to balancing next year's budget, and what impacts on services or taxes will you work for?
So right now in Cooper City, we are very lucky to have a lot of extra services. I would definitely not be increasing taxes on residents or businesses, and we may have to cut back some of the feel-good services that we have, such as recreation services, while the economy recoups from the COVID pandemic.
Okay. Mr. Schroeder?
Yes. So Cooper City is anticipating on losing about $300,000 in revenue because of COVID, primarily through the revenue sharing. Initially, we thought it was going to be upwards to $600,000, but it's turned out to be about $300,000. There's a couple things we could do, but one of it's actually not going to impact Cooper City as bad as it's going to impact some other places. Cooper City is being awarded through a sub-award from Broward County CARES Act, $1.7 million for COVID-related expenses. So we actually might come out ahead of the game, only anticipating losing $300,000 and getting this award of 1.7, which has to be spent before the end of December. The other thing we could do for revenue sharing is every year, each municipality is supposed to be adding addresses into the GIS system, basically the address system that the Department of Revenue at the state looks at when they're writing insurance policies or something. We don't have a post office. So in Cooper City, you'll put in your zip code, it likely will come up Hollywood or Pines. And we haven't added our addresses or updated our database since 2014. So we have a lot of revenue sharing we're already losing. So my biggest thing would be to recuperate and correct that revenue sharing breakdown and recuperate that money. So I think in the next year, we actually might be ahead of the game with the award from the county and correcting our GIS system.
Mr. Giancarlo.
So there were a couple of things addressed already that I think need to be clarified. I won't make any promises with regards to whether taxes will go up or down. I'm going to do what's best for the residents at all times. I'm a resident like everybody else. So if taxes go up, it hits me just like everyone else. We all pray that there's not another closure. But yes, right now Cooper City is only projecting a loss of a few $100,000. If there's another closure or there's a spike, that could drastically change things. I do think there are services that we can reduce. There's also revenue streams that the city is currently working on that we don't currently have, such as with Cooper City Optimist. Previously, the city was giving them money. The past couple of years, it's been a wash, but there's looking at receiving fees from them that can subsidize some of that loss. Plus, through business growth, hopefully we can improve tax bases of commercial properties or residential properties that are not homesteaded to cover some of that loss. With regards to any CARES money that has to be used for COVID, as stated, it has to be used by end of December. So that may not be able to help for funds used January through September of the coming year. Fortunately, Cooper City has a larger reserve than it was thought by a number of people over the last couple of years. We would do our best to maintain services, save money where we can, increase revenue where we can. But if we need to use a small portion of the reserves, COVID is a situation that has been once in a century. So if we dip into the reserves to prevent hardship to our businesses or residences, I think that's also an option because it's not something that would necessarily get repeated on a yearly basis.
Next question, we're going to start with you, Mr. Schroeder, on this one. Schroeder, I'm sorry, I'm very bad at pronouncing names today, so excuse me again. Here's the question. While some businesses have seen a bump in volume during COVID, many are struggling in the current climate. How will you work to support businesses during this economic climate to help them try and keep their doors open?
That's a great question. So I spoke about the 1.7 million that was awarded to us from Broward County and has to be spent. Some of the categories it needs to be spent on is investing back into businesses. What we can also do is we can roll money. Basically, the county set aside certain categories you have to spend the money in. And if you don't have, that category is not applicable to your city, you can roll money into other categories. So I would suggest that we really look at expanding the amount that we earmarked for the business support and as much as we can and use that money that we're gonna get from Broward County to support those businesses. If we don't use that money, we lose the money. So I think there needs to be a very quick assessment on what the need is in the business community and through the obvious avenue of the Chamber of Commerce, and then quickly switch the money over to that and start issuing as much support as we can to the businesses.
Mr. Giancarlo.
So I think that supporting local businesses should not be a COVID centered initiative. If I'm elected, we'll be focusing on supporting businesses all year round, all the time. With regards to COVID, we can still put a light on businesses that are operating in Cooper City. Obviously, we would allocate any COVID funds, any CARES Act funds we receive to businesses as possible, but also making people aware of things being done by business in the community. For example, local restaurant Sublicious was giving food to the hospitals. The city should make that known to residents. The city can communicate better with the residents to know what businesses are still operating. The city should work with local businesses and residents to make sure that everyone knows about what's going on, and so that, like, the city can operate similar to the Chamber of Commerce does and help get the word out and grow businesses, whether it's during COVID or otherwise.
This is Goldfarb.
So as the owner of 2 small businesses in our community, supporting small business is a serious issue. And like some of the other candidates mentioned, it's something that we do not excel in, supporting our small businesses in Cooper City. And so some of the things I'd like to see is Cooper City think outside of the box, like some of our neighboring cities have done, and do events where they're sponsored events where we can advertise our small businesses and really promote our small businesses. I'd like to see, awards go to some of the small businesses for some of their efforts, and communication, like some of the other candidates said, where we can tell them, these are the restaurants that are open in the city, support small businesses, and have an initiative like that where we're really supporting our small businesses, which are owned by most of our residents.
This next question is going to start with you, Mr. Giancarlo. If elected to office, what steps will you take to attract continued investment by businesses into the Cooper City area?
So there's a few things that, to me, that attract businesses to communities. How the community operates and how it looks, and then that, which is a factor of profit potential. So revitalizing the city is key, making sure that code and the rules and ordinances are up to date so that we can ensure the city is beautified and looks nice and is a desirable place not only to live but to shop is a key part of growing in businesses. Making it so that we are business friendly is also important. That is a part of review and code and ordinance review. But basically, we don't have that much land left in Cooper City, so it's important that we attract the best businesses we can, such as Bright Star, which is now having a headquarters built right in the city along University or on University Drive. So continuing to enhance the city by by positively showing what businesses we do have, will help grow it. And so by putting a focus on the positives of doing business in Cooper City, we will attract more businesses.
Mrs. Goldfarb.
Sorry, I keep muting myself. So one of the issues that small businesses have in Cooper City is having to jump through hoops of variances because the codes are old. So we need to make it easier for business owners to be here. And we want to attract businesses here. We want to fill our shopping centers, because the more full that the shopping centers are, the more money that the landowners have to beautify the lands, and then the residents will be happy because they'll have a plethora of options when they're shopping or eating out. So I really think that, you know, getting in and going through the codes and making it easier to do business here is crucial.
Mr. Schroeder.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, one of the biggest issues we have for small businesses or any business, when they come to Cooper City and they try to set up shop, it takes so long to get the build outs done, to go through the code and building permit process. And usually it takes several months. And these businesses might sign a lease that gives them a couple months of free rent or something, but that's pretty much eaten up a lot of times by the bureaucracy at the local level. We're such a small city, that shouldn't be an issue. You should be able to go down to City Hall, speak with someone in the building department, and they should tell you exactly how to get your build out done or your CO issued without wasting significant amount of time. And that's something that not only do we need to fix for the residents, but we need to fix for the businesses. We need to streamline our building department, our ordinances, and not require variances, which most people know only big business or big corporations with deep pockets who have lawyers are able to navigate that process.
Okay. Ms. Goldfarb, this is going to come to you to start off this next question. Many cities across the U.S. are seeing an increase in property crime and violent crime as a result of economic turmoil being faced today. How will you work to ensure we do not see the same challenges in Cooper City?
So we are very lucky to have a great relationship with Broward Sheriff's Office, and by having them, you know, build on that relationship with business owners, with residents, and opening the communication, that's essential. And on the other side of that, we must demand that they are constantly patrolling our streets so that if there is a small issue, it does not evolve into a very large issue.
Okay, Mr. Schroeder.
We have to demand community policing, and it starts with leadership. And the commissioners need to demand that the city manager manage our public safety needs, and the city manager needs to demand that our district chief or district captain does the same. There is too much small crime, and we can say for years that we're one of the safest cities, and it's true, but that's in the past. The crime is starting to increase. And there was a day and time in Cooper City where if you were out at night doing something wrong, there would be cops all over you because maybe some people said they didn't have enough to do or vice versa. But I think it was because they were engaged in the community. It wasn't an officer who was transferred here to retire. And for a long time with the sheriff's office, we weren't getting any new trainees. So our balance of officers was disproportionate. We just had just the seniors, and you need them all. You need the rookies, the seniors, etc. So it really is leadership. It doesn't matter whether it's the Broward Sheriff's Office or whether it's the Cooper City Police Department. You need leadership. This has to be at your forefront, a priority, and that's how you address the issue and you run out crime. You prevent it from happening in your community.
Mr. Giaccaro.
Unfortunately, if you look at the last few months, COVID has made times tough for everyone, but Cooper City is already seeing more crime than I remember as a resident growing up. I think it is important that we become more efficient. Community policing is so important, but also the community needs to work with the police. Everyone has Ring. There's technology that people can go on, post videos, and communicate with the police department, and we need to make residents aware of those options and businesses aware of those options. There are so many neighborhoods in Cooper City that are already gated, that already have things to prevent crime, but we need to, even those neighborhoods need to work with the police department and the city to communicate issues. People need to be smarter with locking their doors or shutting their garage door or locking their cars. not only do we need to work with the police, but we all need to be smarter to reduce those crimes. A lot of crime during economic downturn are crimes of opportunity due to necessity. We can prevent that by improving the community and working with the community to make sure that necessity is not an issue for those in Cooper City. But through community policing and communication, we can improve police efficiency and reduce crime and prevent crime.
Okay. This is a jump question, meaning it can go any way you want it to go. And we're going to start with you, Mr. Schroeder. What do you see as the greatest need in Cooper City, and how will you address it?
I think it's I think it's two parts. It's leadership. I think we've really had mismanagement at the city staff level, and that's resulted in a bad financial situation. Our finances are horrendous. Our millage rate is like the 9th highest out of 31 cities in Broward County, and the city's age is deteriorating a little bit. And the way I intend to fix that would be management. You have to get in there, hold people accountable. You have to be innovative. You can't get money from the community development block grant money from the county for 6 years and not spend $1 of it. Those are the type of things that aren't acceptable. And I think with passion and leadership, you can correct these issues.
Mr. Giancarlo. I think that public safety is always the #1 concern of a city. I've referenced just there anecdotally have been more crime lately than there was previously. BSO's contract takes up 70% of our budget now and is going up to 73. What we need to do is make sure we plan ahead, because my understanding the new contract will require the city to take care of upgrades to fire equipment. So we need to get the budget in order with BSO and with all other items. Give the city transparency so that if the millage does need to go up, everyone understands what they're paying for. And I don't believe Cooper City residents are concerned with paying when they know it's going to public safety, because I think people move to Cooper City for public safety. So getting the budget in line, getting a contract, a long-term contract signed, and so that we can properly plan our budget, so we don't have to jump millage rate up 10% one year, down 5% the next, so we can give financial stability to the city and financial transparency to the residents, and so that they know where the money is going and they don't have to worry about surges to fire assessments as we're having this year.
Mrs. Goldfarb.
One of the issues that hasn't been addressed by our other friends here is the infrastructure of the city. We are an aging city and we are looking our age. And while we have spent quite a bit of money with building brand new parks and the inside of some of our town halls, the property itself looks old. We look like we're from the 60s. Our signage looks old. Our roads need to be improved. We need to really look at improving the image of the city and ensuring that our infrastructure is taken care of. Our bridges need to be dealt with, our roads, our trees. We really need to invest back into our city. And we can't forget about the efficiencies. There are serious inefficiencies within our city. We're dealing with aging in our codes, in our procedures. Things haven't been updated in the city on the inside or the outside for 30 years.
Okay, now we're going to closing remarks. We're going to start with you, Mr. Giancarlo, for closing remarks.
So thank you for your time and hosting this event. I feel I'm the best candidate for the city due to my experience as a resident, going to the local schools, graduating from the local schools. I'm the only candidate with both an accounting and legal education. I practice both of them currently. I've volunteered since I was a child in Cooper City, and I understand what people's concerns are with the city. I grew up in a family now, and my parents are an example of a large part of Cooper City that are empty nesters. I'm not yet raising my own family, but that is a goal of mine. And so my concerns in the city span all ages and affect everyone, every individual. My goal is to make it so that residents can be proud of Cooper City again at the commission level, down to who your neighbor is. I think Cooper City has lost some of its friendly touch and homey feel, and I think through revitalization and financial stability, I can help bring that back.
Mrs. Goldfarb.
I'll disagree with Mr. Giancarlo because I believe that I'm the best candidate. I have lived in the city for 15 years. I'm a wife and mother, and I've been very involved in the city since I moved here. And I am very in touch with our residents. And it's been a long time since the residents of this city felt truly represented by the commission. And with that, so many concerns have gone unnoticed. We've had speeding in the city. We've had children that have been hit by cars on bicycles, and yet we're still not dealing with the traffic concerns in our city. Our residents are not being heard, and it's time for someone to really represent them and have integrity and do what's right for the residents.
Mr. Schroeder.
Thank you. I think we're fortunate this election that all the candidates are qualified. They're all good candidates. But what I think sets me aside is I think I'm going to deliver the best. Everyone has great ideas, but it's about results, and that's what we've lacked for years. For years, Cooper City was about maintaining our growth, making sure we didn't get too commercial. We stayed residential, and that never switched over from growth to actually managing the city, making sure we're revitalizing it. We're managing our financial situation, et cetera. I'm the only candidate I'm the youngest candidate and the only candidate that runs businesses in Cooper City with 14 employees. I'm certainly the most involved in the Broward Sheriff's contracts, and I've brought to light actually hundreds of thousands of dollars of shortfalls that we've had in those contracts. So I think when it comes to this November, it's time to elect somebody who's going to make a difference. We might not always get along up there or agree, but at least at the end of the day, they know that I'm fighting for what I think is best for the city, and that's what matters and what's going to make the biggest difference.
On behalf of the Chamber and our business partnership, we want to thank all three of you for being here today. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Meet the Candidates for the City of Cooper City, a program of the South Florida Business Partnership Legislative Action Committee, a division of the Miramar Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Weston Florida Chamber of Commerce, the Pembroke Park West Park Chamber of Commerce, and the Business Partnership of Davie Cooper City. We want to thank everybody for tuning in today and watching this video, as it will be put on all of our social media channels by Friday. Again, we want to thank everybody, and remember to vote by November 3rd, whether it be early voting, absentee voting, or voting at the polls on November 3rd. Your vote counts, and we want to make sure that you're out there. Again, I want to thank our candidates for being here today, and thank everyone out there for being a good citizen and taking care of our communities the best way they know how. Thank you again for this evening.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for your time. Have a good night.